So let's get into it. Today, we're digging into some pretty wild material that all revolves around one single question. Can your thoughts literally actually change your reality and make you rich? I mean, seriously, is it really possible to win contest after contest? Not just, a small prize, but a new bike, a trip to Europe, even a brand new house. Not by some incredible stroke of luck, but just by sheer will? It sounds like pure fantasy, right? Well, according to the newspaper clippings, the articles, and the testimonials we've been looking at, the answer is a pretty confident yes. So let's dive in and see exactly what the evidence is and what methods these sources are talking about. Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with the amazing story that kicked this whole thing off. Then we're going to unpack the core technique they all say is the secret. After that, we'll look at some of the more extreme and honestly kind of disturbing versions of this idea. We'll have to ask, is it all just luck? And finally, we're going to boil it all down to one single powerful takeaway for you. All right, let's jump into our first section. The story that really grounds this whole idea is about a woman named Helen Hadsell. On the surface, just a regular Texas housewife, but she became this media sensation back in the day for what everyone called an uncanny, almost unbelievable ability to win contests. And check out this headline from an article back in '79. It's not an exaggeration of her claim. It is her claim. According to a bunch of different reports, for years, it seemed like whatever Helen Hadsell decided she wanted to win, she won. But how? Well, that's where this gets really, really interesting. So, what was her secret? How did she do it? Well, at the very heart of Hadsell's incredible success is a technique that the sources say is actually surprisingly simple. It's not about some complex ritual. It's all about where you put your mental focus. This quote from her, man, it gets right to the point. Hadsell basically argued that what we all call luck isn't random at all. She believed it's just the results of really focused energy. The idea is, if you can hold the vision of what you want clearly enough and consistently enough, it just has to happen. So her method, when you piece it all together from the articles, kind of boils down to four main things. First, you have to choose your goal. And be specific, because a vague desire gets you vague results. Second, and this is the absolute core of it, you have to picture the end. Don't just visualize winning. You have to feel what it's like to already own it. That feeling is supposed to be the magnet. Third, you've got to hold that thought. It takes real mental discipline. And finally, number 4, don't nullify. This one's huge. If you enter a contest and lose, it's not a failure. It's just a delay. You're supposed to carry that same winner's energy over to the next shot so that doubt doesn't creep in and erase all your work. And this perfectly illustrates the point. This philosopher, Neville Goddard, who was teaching the same idea decades ago, he made this exact same distinction. Thinking of something. Well, that keeps it at a distance, right? It's out there. But thinking from it, as if it's already your reality, that's what supposedly makes it happen. And just look at what that method allegedly got for Hadsell. It starts in 1959 with an outboard motor for her husband, then a bike for her daughter. A few months later, a trip to Europe for her 40th birthday. Then her sons start winning things, a trip to D.C., a trip to the World's Fair. And then, the big one, a $50,000 custom house. She won it against more than 2 million other people. But this whole idea of mind power, it's not all feel-good stories about winning prizes. As we started digging deeper into the source material, we found that this same principle, well, it gets applied in much stranger and, frankly, more unsettling ways. For instance, take this technique from the 1950s called psychic driving. There was a psychiatrist, Dr. D. Ewan Cameron, who would use these looped audio messages, playing them over and over, to try and completely change someone's personality. He even suggested it could turn a criminal into a good citizen. It's the same idea, repetition, but taken to this really clinical, really controversial extreme. And then you've got this guy, Dr. Frank Rudolph Jung. He called himself the guru of psychic dominance. And his goal wasn't winning stuff. His goal was to control other people. He actually said this was the greatest power God ever gave to man. And here's where you see the contrast just so clearly. On one side, you've got Hadsell's method. Focus on a prize, project desire, visualize having it. Pretty wholesome, right?
But on the other side, you've got Jung's psychic dominance. He wrote about using things like an astral rattle to summon spirits, or something called a zodiac force that could psychically capture people. It's the same root idea, focused thought, but aimed at two totally different things: getting stuff versus controlling people.
So, what's the deal here? Is there really anything to these claims? Or are these just stories of some insane random luck? Let's look at some more recent examples the sources bring up.
Yeah, the stories aren't all from the 50s and 60s. They point to modern folks too. People like Bob Young, who claimed he won the lottery more than 25 times for over 800 grand. Or Margie Johnson, hitting 3 different slot jackpots for almost $1 million. And the common thread in all their stories? They all said it wasn't luck. They said it was their mindset, this firm belief, just like Hadsel, that their focus created the outcome.
But, of course, the sources also bring up the big, obvious counter-argument. If it's really all about our thoughts, what about tragedy? What about all the positive, upbeat people who still get terrible diseases, or people who die in just random accidents? The critics are right to ask, because these ideas can seem to just ignore the messy, chaotic reality of life. So after all that, where does it leave us?
Let's try to boil down the one central theme that really runs through every single one of these accounts, from the winners to the weird psychic dominators. Here it is. This is the big idea at the center of it all. Whether you believe you can manifest a house or you think it's complete nonsense, every single source we looked at agrees on one thing: the power of your focus. What you consistently put your attention on, whether it's an opportunity or a problem, a desire or a fear, that thing tends to grow and become a bigger part of your life. And Hadsel herself warned that this energy isn't just for good things. She actually claimed that if you hold on to thoughts of hate or revenge against someone, that's a form of witchcraft, a deliberate projection of negative energy. Which just goes to show the power itself is neutral. It just magnifies whatever you feed.
And that brings us to the final and maybe most challenging takeaway from all this material. If it's true, if what you focus on really does expand, then Hadsel's warning is the one to remember. You better be really, really clear and maybe a little careful about what you truly want, because you just might get it.